Hey guys, my name is Rudy. I'm very excited to talk today about episode 2 or video 2. Still haven't figured out what I'm going to call it for Angry Chronicles. Yeah, and before I do that, I want to cover a couple of things. So, number one, I'm going to try to release a video every Friday if possible. So, we'll see how that goes. And how much content can I push out every week? I still don't know if that's possible. So I just wanted to put that out there every Friday, hopefully. The other thing that I also wanted to share is that I have a bunch of notes. Thank God you guys can't see it. Scattered all over the place. And the reason for that is because I have a lot of content that I put together. And I want to make sure that I cover everything that I want to discuss with you guys. And that you guys can, just get to know what I want to share with you guys. So in order for me to make sure that I did that, I wrote a bunch of notes. And so if you see me looking around, it's probably because I'm just checking to make sure I said everything I wanted to say. All right. So having said that, today I want to talk about two things. So I think number one, I want to discuss why do we get angry? And of course, everybody has their own reasons, but I want to talk about at least like what are some of the reasons that I got angry in the past. And so that is like the potential problem that we can discuss out here today. And the other thing that I want to talk about is what can we do, right, to manage anger better? And more specifically, I will be talking about what I did to manage anger better and what I'm doing now. And hopefully I can give you guys some tools that you can walk away with that might be helpful to you the same way that they are helpful to me now. And a lot of these tools that I will be sharing with you guys are stuff that my several therapists have taught me throughout these 2 years that I've been going to therapy. So I know that they worked for me, and I want to share them with you guys, so hopefully they work for you. Anyway, so before covering the stuff that I want to discuss with you guys, I want to obviously let it be known that I am no expert in these fields. I am no expert in anger, although I have a lot of experience. But, I'm just going to be talking about the stuff that I lived, the stuff that I dealt with, my own life experiences, and, just firsthand, just discussing like what works, right? And hopefully it can work for you too. I'm going to try to keep this video brief. I'm not going to try to make it an hour long. I don't know if you have that much time to watch a video, but I'm just going to try to keep it concise as much as possible. All right. So before going into the questions that I have for today, I actually want to share an important quote that I picked for today from this book that I've been reading for a while. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you guys haven't got a chance to read it, I highly recommend it. I think it's very insightful. They say that, humans are creatures of habit, and that's a fact. And understanding how habits are formed within you, it's really important. And I think that reading this book gives a lot of insight to us. And it also tells us, how can we establish new productive habits? How can we get rid of bad habits? And it also talks about, why is it that you're failing at enforcing new habits even though you want to? Anyway, check out the book when you get a chance. Highly recommend it. But so I'm going to read this that I found that is really interesting and applies to what I'm going to be talking about today. So here it goes. It says, the more you repeat an activity, the more the structure of your brain changes to become efficient at that activity. Neuroscientists call this long-term potentiation. which refers to the strengthening of connections between neurons in the brain based on recent patterns of activity. With each repetition, cell-to-cell signaling improves and the neural connections tighten. So that's just one thing I wanted to share. And then the other thing was that it says here in the book, all habits follow a similar trajectory from effortful practice to automatic behavior, a process known as automaticity. Automaticity, sorry if I butcher that, is the ability to perform a behavior without thinking about each step, which occurs when the non-conscious mind takes over. So I think this is super true, right? You think about it. If you ever learn how to drive, right? When you're first learning how to drive, you're freaking white knuckling the freaking steering wheel, right? It feels super tiring. You're putting every ounce of energy and focus into the driving, right? And it's exhausting, right? Just going through it when you're first learning how to drive. At least it was for me. I don't know. Maybe you guys are OGs and just freaking knocked it out of the ballpark as soon as you started driving. But, and the more I did it, right, it became easier and easier and easier, to the point that now when I drive, like, I can be listening to a podcast, thinking about stuff. I can be literally going through so many things in my mind, thinking about stuff that I want to talk about. Like, for example, thinking about the content I'm going to be writing or discussing for this podcast while I'm driving. And that is because I automatically can drive, and it's just zero effort to drive now. I've done it so many times. And why am I bringing this up? Well, it's because getting upset is a freaking habit, right? Like, when you're getting upset at certain things, you make it a habit that every time a certain thing happens, you're going to get upset and you're going to react a certain way and you're going to become aggressive and you're going to use anger as a tool. So the thing is that, you know, I don't know if you guys remember when I was talking about it in my first video, right? I said that as time progressed, I became better at picking out people's weaknesses, studying people, right? I became better and better at, being able to figure people out and pin them down with words or with, just the way I argue with people just improved, I guess. And that's because I did it more and more. I think you can testify to anything. Anything you do, the more you do it, you just become better at it. And it's no surprise. Our brain is just wired to do that. It's wired to become more efficient at whatever activity we constantly do. And I wanted to put that on your radar so that you can think about it and realize that the more you get upset, you're actually teaching your brain to become more efficient at getting upset. So that's just something to keep in mind, and hopefully that can start to deter you from acting like this whenever you feel upset. Anyway, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to share that. I think that's really important. So let's get to it. Let's talk about our first question here that I want to discuss, which is, why do we get angry? Right? Like I said before, everybody has their own reasons why they get angry. I'm definitely going to talk about the reasons that I used to get upset about, what triggered them, and talk about and brush this with very broad strokes, why I feel like certain things triggered me, right? That can be a freaking episode in itself. The reasons why I used to get upset. And then talk about how these things affected my behavior towards others. If you watch my first video, I think I talked about that. And I said that, I hurt a lot of people. And I screwed up a lot of things. But I'm grateful for all of that because it has taught me a lot of lessons, and it has made me a better man now. And I am very happy where I'm at right now. So that's that. And yeah, and then I will then talk about, a couple of things that I did to start fixing myself. So yeah, those are the things that I'm going to talk about, at least regarding this first topic, which is why do we get upset? And all right, so where do I start? I think for me, like the biggest, most common overarching thing for me was that I always thought that people were out there to get me. People were out there to screw me over. People were out there to lie to me, to cheat, to try to take advantage of me. That was a constant theme that was in my mind, right? And because that was something that I already thought about people all the time. As soon as something happened in my brain, I looked for something to confirm that, and immediately I started arguing with people. I reacted in the moment based on what I felt, and yeah, I went to town fighting and arguing and saying a lot of stupid stuff that was very hurtful to other people and hurtful to myself as well. The other thing that I made a list, so I'm just trying to go down my list. The other thing that I felt was very common, it was a very common reason why I got upset, is that I constantly felt like no one understands me, right? No one gets me. I felt like I would be in arguments with people and I just felt misunderstood. I just felt like, people just didn't get me. They were not on my level, whatever that was. And it just made me see things completely the way they were not, right? And I feel like another thing too for me was that I feel like people didn't believe in me, right? People doubted me. Like, I just felt like people didn't have any trust in me, right? And they doubted me. They doubted my abilities, and that's it's pretty obvious. I think that I felt like that because a lot of people, as I was growing up, they doubted me. They ridiculed me, right? They made fun of me for being a fat little kid that wanted to, join the Marine Corps, and they were like, "No way, you being so overweight, you're ever gonna join. You had all these health issues. There's no way, you could barely breathe. There's no way you can be able to do it." All these doubters and naysayers really got to me. And I used to think that a lot of people that I interacted with also doubted me, right? So it created a huge chip on my shoulder that, like, oh, I got to prove this person wrong. Oftentimes just creating battles and problems that didn't even exist, to be honest. Another thing too was insecurities, right? I was, before, I will admit, I had a lot of issues. I was very insecure about myself in a lot of things. I was insecure about my ability to do certain things. I was insecure about the ability for other people liking me for who I was. I was insecure about being alone. I was insecure about, I think that sometimes, like, I didn't even find confidence in my own self. And I try to overcompensate and portray this image of a cocky person that was very confident and go-getter and all that, but it was just a front. So I overcompensated with my insecurities, very typical stuff. And that caused me to, have this aggressive behavior. The moment that somebody struck a nerve that had anything to do with my insecurities, immediately I would react and, attack whoever that I felt was attacking me. The other thing that I feel like was a big reason why I argued, it was I think I said this already right now. Like, I was just upset that when I was just worried that people would make me out, right? That people would figure out my weaknesses. And I was just like, I can't let people figure out my weaknesses, because the moment that they will, they're gonna freaking exploit them to my demise, right? They're gonna nail me for that. So I went through great lengths to hide my weaknesses, and to make sure that no one knew about them. So yeah, that's another thing. And I think one of the last things that I have here on my notes is that I felt like I was very selfish. You know, I constantly had this emotional turmoil within me, and a lot of times I feel like it was all about me, right? It was all about, I need to be addressed. Like, my issues, my needs need to be met before anybody. And that's just because I was so consumed with my own self that I couldn't even address myself. And I was looking to other people to help me feel better. Um, I was looking at other people to try to solve the issues that were going on inside me. And that is completely wrong. No one can solve all of these issues. You know, one of the biggest things for me was I was afraid of being alone. So I wanted to surround myself all the time with people because I didn't want to feel alone. And that is wrong, right? Like, it's just escaping reality. Um, so obviously all these things affected me in a way that I use anger as a weapon, where I started hurting people. Um, I would take out my pain on them. I mentioned this in my first video. There is this where I made this analogy that this weight that I had within me and this anger was like a Hurricane 3, storm brewing in my chest. And within seconds, it would just go to Hurricane 5, right? And so because of all these reasons, I would constantly blow up on people, blow up on myself, and then I would realize what I did and walk away feeling like the worst piece of crap. And it was this vicious cycle, right? Feeling like crap, reacting to people, and then feeling like crap of the way I reacted to people. So it was just nuts. And yeah, I obviously hit a rock bottom point. I don't even know if I said that right, but I hit rock bottom. That's what I'm trying to say. And I am grateful in retrospect that I hit that rock bottom, and the reasons why I hit that rock bottom, I am extremely grateful for that as well. Because hitting that low made me realize how broken I was, made me realize how much damage I did. And although at the time I didn't want to live anymore, it gave me a lot of awareness of who I was and what have I done. So for me, that was incredibly powerful, because being able to have that self-awareness, it allowed me to own the fact that I had anger issues, own the fact that I had screwed up my life up until that point, right? I remember when I tried to take myself out, the day after, I realized, like, I'm emotionally jacked up. Like, I'm messed up. I'm broken, right? I'm broken. And I took myself to the ER. I went to hospitalize myself. I had to swallow my freaking ego and tell people I have issues, and I need help. And trust me, it was very humbling, because for someone with such a big ego, it was hard to admit that, right? And I think that's really important, because when you think about it logically, like, you must accept that you have a problem, because only then you will fix the freaking problem. If in your mind it doesn't exist, you will never fix the freaking problem, right? So that's the biggest step, and my initial step towards changing. The other thing is, I already mentioned this, right? I recognized that I needed help, and I asked for it. I went to the VA hospital for veterans, and I told them I need counseling. I need some help. And then the other thing I started to do, obviously, was going to therapy. And when I went to therapy, I try to give it my best. I try to be in the moment, be willing to be open and just let it all out. Because at this point, I was like, I've been trying to hide all these feelings for so long, and it hasn't worked out for me at all. I've been trying to be this tough man. My father taught me that the man is the rock of the house, the foundation of the house, and that we are there to solve everybody's problems, and nobody cares about our problems. That's something that we have to figure out and deal with it as men. And that obviously didn't work out for me at all, right? Trying to be this tough guy, trying to be this, I could hold it down. No. And I was just tired of it. Like, I was tired of, like, trying to keep up this front, and I was just ready to deal with the issues that were tormenting me, to be honest. And I gotta tell you, like, going to therapy is not easy. I know for me, at least in the initial stages, it was super tough, because one of the things about therapy, at least the therapy I did, they made me confront a lot of things that I suppressed for many years. And they were like, the only way that you're going to get past this is you have to go through it. That's the only way that you're going to be able to overcome this. And once you get through it, if you manage to muster the strength to do that, you'll come out on the other side a lot stronger. And I think the reason I'm saying this is not to scare you, but it's just to make you aware that when you're trying to change in this way, which is a very drastic way, right? Like, I'll tell you, for me, by the time I was trying to change, I was 30 something years old. So this is a behavior that's been ingrained in me for so long, right? It was a part of me for so long. And making a change like this required a lot of effort. And it was painful, right? And for me, I mentioned this in my first video, my motivation were my kids. So what's the point that I'm trying to make? I think that whenever you decide to change, to be a better person and not let anger rule you, the only way, in my opinion, the only way that I think you're going to make it and you're going to have a shot at really changing, you must have a powerful motivation, a powerful reason for you to change. Because you're going to go through a lot of times where you're going to want to quit, where you're going to want to, like, screw everything. I'll tell you, for me, there were many times where I was like, screw this. I just don't want to do this anymore, right? Or life situations happened to me where I went from being a certain point in my life to hitting rock bottom, right? Sleeping on a mattress on a floor. And I just wanted to quit. But I was like, no, I must continue fighting no matter what, because I'm doing this for my kids. I'm making myself a better person for my kids. I want my kids to know what a decent, good man looks like. And in order for me to do that, like, I must become that person. And every time I thought about tapping out, I remember that I was doing it for them. And that gave me that strength, that fire, right? To not give up and look at people that were doubting me, people that were trying to hurt me, and say, screw that. I'm going to push through this and I'm going to blast through it, right? Like, nothing is going to stop me. And for me, my kids are my fire, right? And trust me, at this point in my life, it's a fire that I can't even explain to you guys. It's like, I feel like I'm unstoppable, right? Because I do everything for them, and I give thanks to God for that. The other thing I want to say is, obviously, I just said it right now, you got to put the effort, and for that reason, you have to look for a strong motivation. So I don't know what the motivation is for you, right? If you don't have kids, obviously it's not going to be kids, right? Whether it's your mom, your dad, a family member, or something else that is a powerful reason for you, right? Whatever that is, find a extremely powerful reason for you to change. And when you think about tapping out, when you think about quitting, you think about that reason. And let that reason bring you back from the ground and keep you moving forward. Trust me, that is super important. So make sure you think about that before you embark on this journey of changing, because that's what's going to get you going. So I think that for me, these are some of the things that I started to do to become better and to change things around. And that I feel like they worked for me, right? So that's just something I wanted to share with you guys. So, let's talk about now. So these are a couple of reasons why I got upset. I hope that you can resonate with that. Maybe there's something that I said that, you find some commonality with. And, if that's the case, then hopefully these things that I'm about to share with you guys may be useful to you to change those things around, right? So for me, a couple of things I did to manage anger better, and like I mentioned before, these are things that my therapist taught me how to do. And a lot of things that they share with me is just these mental frameworks to adapt and to practice in order to take back control of my life and manage my emotions better. So one of the things, it sounds all kumbaya and freaking cliche, whatever you want to call it, But I think number one, for sure, I would say this, and I can testify, you have to love yourself and you have to be compassionate to yourself. And that's really important because at the end of the day, you cannot give to others what you don't have. Let me put it to you in simple terms. If you came out and you asked me for a cup of coffee, and I don't have a freaking coffee to offer you, if I don't own a freaking coffee maker or coffee, how the heck am I going to give you a cup of coffee? It's impossible for me to give you something I don't freaking have, right? That's just logical. So the same is with love and compassion. If you do not give yourself love and compassion, that is going to be alien to you. And if that's the case, you're not going to be able to give it to other people, right? And I'm going to tell you right now from experience, which is even more sad. If you don't give yourself love and compassion, when other people give it to you, you're going to F it up. You're going to screw it up. You're not going to know what to do with it, right? I'm telling you from experience. So the one thing I recommend is give yourself love and compassion. What you want to give to other people, and when you want other people to give to you, first give it to yourself. Because I know for me, a lot of times, people that know me well, whenever I did mistakes, I would nail myself. I would punish myself like nobody could ever punish me. I was the toughest freaking critic on myself. I demanded the best. And then when I screwed up, man, I literally destroyed myself. I was harder than anybody could ever be on me. And it's no surprise, right, that I was the same way with other people. Even with the people that I loved, I was the same, right? If I didn't have compassion with myself, there's no way I could have compassion with other people, right? That notion was strange, something I didn't even know how to do. And loving myself, same thing. So it was very difficult for me to give something to others I just didn't have. And So please take the time to do that. And how do you do that? I think for me, one of the things I did is that, you know, before when I made a mistake, I freaking nail myself, like I said before already. Now when I make a mistake, it's like, it's okay. I'm human. It's fine to make a mistake. And rather now when I make a mistake, it's like, okay, well, let me take a step back and say, well, why did I make this mistake, right? What is the lesson that I can extrapolate from this experience, right? And then how can I prevent from making this mistake again, right? Which is, all this information is just going to help me be better the next time around. And I would take that and run with it. And, there are times I would end up making the same mistake. And even if I did, it's okay. The freaking problem is not whether you fall off the freaking horse. Is a matter of, are you going to stay flat on your butt once you fall off the horse? Or are you going to get right back up and keep on going, right? And that's the decision I made for me. Like, no matter how many times I fall, I'm getting right back up and I'm moving forward, right? And I'm not going to punish myself anymore, right? I'm going to take, my faults and I'm going to find a lesson and move forward and get and grow, try to be better. So for me, those were the biggest reasons why I used to be so hard on myself. And, and I started giving myself love, that compassion, that understanding, like, it's okay. I literally would talk to myself like, Rudy, you're fine. Like, yeah, you screwed up. It's okay. Just try to be better next time. And trust me, the same emotion, the same feeling I had when I was doing it to myself. And although at the time I was like, yo, this sounds crazy. I'm talking to myself. But when other people will do stuff, when my kids will do stuff, I wouldn't freak out anymore. Why? Because I was already doing that with myself. So is that something that I was already acquainted with, that I already knew, and I could give it to myself? I had that. I owned that for myself. It was easy for me to give it to other people, right? It was also easy for me to give it to other people that I can see myself in them, right? When people would try to attack me with words, insults, whatever you want, I would see that they were carrying pain like I once did. And I wouldn't even get mad at them. I would just feel sorry. Because I knew how much it sucks to carry that pain. And I would see them dishing it out because that's what they had in their hearts. And it just made me sad. But yeah, having compassion for yourself allows you to make it easier to give compassion to other people. And tying things back to the quote I shared before, the more I give compassion to myself, I guess the more efficient I become at doing that. And the easier it is for me to give it to other people. So in the beginning, it's going to be hard for you. But trust me, the more you do it, the more you give compassion and love to yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to give it to other people. At the beginning, it might be hard. It might take a lot of effort, just like it took for you probably when you learn how to drive. But the more you do it, it becomes automatic. But you have to stay committed. The other thing for me that I would say that is really important is, really, for sure. This is why I had to look at my notes. One of the things that my therapist taught me on how to give compassion to myself was, understanding the root of me getting angry, right? For me, it was all the trauma that I went through as a kid. And because that was the root for me, my therapist taught me Okay, you're an adult now. Talk to your 12-year-old person. And if you watch episode 1, you would figure out that the pivotal moment in my life that scarred me for life was when I was laying down in my bed with welts all over my body, crying of pain and of freaking disappointment that the people that were supposed to protect me hurt me like hell. That was it for me. And so what my therapist taught me to do was go back and talk to that teenage version of yourself and tell them that you're going to protect them. Tell them that you're going to give them the love, the compassion, the understanding, the care that no one ever gave it to them. So you got to tell yourself that you got yourself. And you got to tell that kid version that is all screwed up and scarred and scared and jacked up that you got him. And once you're able to make peace with that, you're able to make peace with your own self. And you know you got yourself. And whenever you're about to freak out, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, there are times still where that little kid comes out and is scared and is anxious. And I got to tell my own self, my grown 36-year-old version, Rudy, you're fine. It's okay. I got you. I got you. And because I know I have myself, I'm calm. I'm able to find that peace that it can only come from within, right? But it's being able to be self-aware, to understand where it comes from. Moving on. The other thing that I wanted to make sure I want to cover is that this is super, super, super important. I'm pretty sure that I would want to bet that 90% of the people that get mad have this problem, and this probably applies to them. My therapist taught me how to do this, and I know for me it was a huge fault, which is they taught me to slow things the heck down. Like, I mean it, slow things down when you're getting angry, right? For me, it was about changing this mental framework that I had in my mind, right? Which is, I would be a person that I would go from feeling and reacting immediately. The moment you make me feel like crap, the moment that I felt like you hurt me, I was gunning for you, right? Like I was going after you because you made me feel a certain way, because you hurt me, right? And that's something that it was a survival instinct that I had to develop, constantly being hurt by others. And it was so hard in the beginning to change from that to what basically was reflecting, and how I put it in my head, I put it into these couple of words so I can constantly repeat it to myself when I wanted to let my anger come out, which is reflect and respond. So what does that freaking mean? Reflect and respond, what I learned was that when something is happening, when somebody's telling me something that it might be hurtful to me, right? And even though it feels hurtful, take a step back. Try to understand why that person is telling me that. What is the context that's surrounding this person telling me this or doing this to me, right? Trying to see the underlying theme behind what these people are telling me. Trying to see where they're coming from. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway was that once I can see where they were coming from, I was able to put myself in their shoes, and I was able to empathize with them. And that caused me to be a lot less upset, because I understood why people were saying what they were saying, right? So take some time to slow things out and try to see where other people are coming from. The other thing that I would say is that never, ever, ever, ever say or do something when you're emotional. Trust me, you're going to fail every single time. I know, and I'm saying this from experience. Any therapist, any psychologist, psychiatrist, any mental expert will tell you the same freaking thing. Matter of fact, every person that has done it will tell you, you freaking react out of emotion, you're done. It's a fact. You're going to say and you're going to do things that you didn't mean. And in retrospect, you're going to regret. And I know for me, that was the case. So, responding how I used to do before is definitely wrong. I'm reacting, right? So, and reacting is something that you do it's almost like a muscle memory, right? That's why I read what I read before, right? Because the more you do something, you do it automatically with no thought. So for me, getting angry and reacting was automatic, right? But now I had to learn how to slow things down. And then after I had to learn how to slow things down and I understood why people were saying whatever they were saying to me, then I had to figure out, okay, now how am I going to respond? And I mean, you can go so many ways with that, right? And for me, I found this one question I constantly ask myself whenever I figure out, or whenever I was trying to figure out how am I going to respond to something. And I still do it to this day. I think I will do it to the day I die, to be honest. Which is, how am I going to respond to this person or this situation in a way that, number one, I don't hurt the people that I'm addressing, and number two, that I don't hurt myself, right? I don't want to hurt somebody, and I don't ever want to walk away from a situation feeling regret or remorse. And that is something that I constantly thought about whenever I was going to say something or do something. Sometimes I drop the ball. I let emotions take over me. But I think I've gotten better as time has passed by at keeping that in mind whenever I respond. In the beginning, trust me, as I was starting to embark this journey and change, even though I was trying to change, I got to be honest, I dropped the ball. I screwed up. But even though I felt like crap, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out my lesson here. Make sure I never do that again. Anyway, so what I would say is take time to reflect and try to figure out how you're going to respond. And with that being said, whenever you're talking to people, tell them, I need some time. I need some time to figure out how I'm going to respond. People might pressure you. People might get even more upset at you, because that happened to me, where people got even more upset that I wasn't responding in the moment, and that they were like, what? You need time to respond? But if you know you need that because you want to come correct, then go ahead and do that and take however much time you need to, right? But make sure that when you're saying something, you mean it, right? For me, it was really hard when I was starting to do that because I had no experience doing that. Like a lot of times I feel like a baby, right? Like, okay, I am this new version of me and I have no previous experience on knowing how to deal with this stuff, right? In a way that is not toxic. Because all I knew before was toxic. It took effort. It took brainstorming. It also took asking for advice to my therapist. Like, listen, I need help. I need to learn how to figure it out. And they taught me a lot of exercises that I could use that would help me find the best way to deal with things. And the more I did that, then I found my own way of how to addressing things. At times it's still challenging because I obviously encountered things that I never encountered. And even though I have some experience now on how to handle things better, sometimes I'm caught up with things that are overwhelming, and I need to sit down and try to figure that out. But I know at least that I'm not gonna hurt anybody. I'm not gonna hurt myself because I don't want that anymore, right? I'm committed to that. Um, so anyway, what I want to say is don't feel and react, but rather reflect and respond, right? And responding is taking time and putting effort and thought into what you're going to say and making sure that what you're going to say is not going to hurt others and it's not going to hurt yourself and you're not going to regret it, right? So that's that. And yeah, like, you have to make sure that you have to commit yourself, right? Yeah. And just know that you're not going to act toxic. I'm looking at my notes. I just wanted to make sure I cover what I wanted to say, right? Um, the other thing is the third thing I would say that would be good when it comes to managing anger better is that you need to be brutally honest, right? For me, it was a matter of accepting I have a problem. People are telling me this, they're giving me this feedback, and chances are they're freaking right, and I need to change it. And it was only when I was brutally honest with myself that I had problems, that I was jacked up, that I was this angry person, that I was constantly looking to hurt other people, right? That I was a person that was running away from my emotions, that I was bottling stuff up because I was a coward and not to deal with them. Um, I had to talk to myself like that. And I was a lot more raw, and I don't want to, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's too much to share, but I had to go raw on myself and say, you're jacked up. You're freaking mentally broken. And once I was able to admit that, I was able, like I said before, recognize that I needed help. For me, my ego was huge, and my ego was my demise. It caused me to do a lot of stupid things. It caused me to not admit when I was doing a lot of wrong things. And it definitely caused me for me not to seek for help when I needed it. But once I was able to be honest, I was like, no, screw my ego. Like, I need help. Uh, and yeah, I'm broken and I'm scared and I don't know what to do. The other thing I would say is that, um, unfortunately, some people might not want to realize that you have changed, that you're a different person. I say this from experience, and not only because of dealing with other people, but you need to also do this for yourself. Because the old Rudy, for me, sometimes comes out and wants to come out, right? Like it's playing inside my head, and I'm like, no, no more. You're not, you know? And so what I'm trying to say is you need to be able to set boundaries, number one, with yourself, and number two, with other people. So let's start with us, right? You need to set boundaries with yourself and say, I am not going to hurt. Like for me, my boundary was I am not going to hurt other people anymore with my words and my actions. I am not going to hurt myself anymore, right? The other thing was that I am not going to feel and react react. So I'm going to respond. I'm going to reflect and react. And respond, excuse me. So for me, those were boundaries, right? Like, how am I going to handle things and how am I going to treat other people? Uh, and it was important for me to stay committed to those boundaries because those were the things that kept me in check to realize like how much I was making progress or not, right? And staying true to at least the goal that I had in mind. The other thing too is that other people are not going to realize, or they're probably going to want to accept that you change, and they're going to push you, they're going to taunt you, and unfortunately, for me, I speak from personal experience. When you're toxic, you, no surprise, end up hanging out with other toxic people. And sometimes those people are going to come back and they're going to try to deal with you in a toxic way. And you're going to have to teach them that that toxic crap is not going to fly anymore, right? That's not how you behave anymore. And you're going to have to teach them that that's not what you accept anymore either. I think it's important to show them compassion and understanding when they do that and try to see through that and through their actions. But at the same time, let it be known that you're not going to be disrespected anymore. And if people continue to disrespect you, let them go. Let them go. Get rid of them, right? Because at that point, they become dead weight. And, you know, it's just people that are going to try to bring the old you out. And that's not good. But overall, do your best, right, to trying to find a common ground and be respectful to others and hopefully come to a resolution. But I want to tell you right now, there are going to be people that, even though you try to see where they're coming from, they're just going to straight up try to gun for you. And if that's the case, and you've set your boundaries and you try to behave and you try to address things the right way and they still don't listen, don't deal with them anymore. Just get rid of them. And I'm telling you from experience, the older I get, the more I understand things that are beneficial for me. My circle of people that I hang out with just becomes smaller and smaller because I realized that a lot of people they were no good for me. They were not making me better. They were not bringing out the best in me. And that's okay. That's part of life. Yeah, I think that's important. It's important to set boundaries for yourself and for other people. And another thing that I wanted to share with you guys before I end this video is that I wanted to share this quote with you guys from this book, again, Atomic Habits. I highly recommend it when you get a chance to read it. It says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become, right? So I discuss here today some of the reasons why I got angry, and you probably get angry as well, or you have your own reasons. I don't know them, but you do, obviously. And I talked about a couple of ways that you can deal with that anger and start your journey on improving that and changing that, right? And a couple of tools that I learned that I hopefully, if you take them, they can work for you as well. But you got to think about this, right? And I thought about this too constantly, is that every action you take is a vote towards a person you want to be. So if you want to be a person that no longer responds to anger, then make your votes with your actions. It's that simple, right? If you want to be a person that doesn't get angry anymore and is not toxic to other people, then freaking act better, right? Like, before you, even if it goes through your mind to say something stupid and hurtful, don't do it. And make sure that you act in a way that is decent and respectful to yourself and to other people. And the more you do it, the more votes towards the person you want to become. And gradually you will become that person. But you have to stay committed and you have to do it, right? So that's something I wanted to share with you guys. I know I talked a lot, but I wanted to say a couple of takeaways from this video that hopefully they can be of value to you. Number one, understand why you're getting upset, right? Understand what is the root cause of your anger, and deal with that root, right? For me, it was my childhood trauma, so I had to go back and talk to my childhood version of me. Yeah. Number two, reflect and respond, right? Shift from that behavioral mindset of feeling and reacting. I know a lot of people that get angry, that's their MO, right? And you need to change that. You need to go from that to slowing things down, taking the time to reflect, understand where other people are coming from, and then taking the time to think what is the best way for you to respond. In the beginning, it takes a lot of effort, but the more you do it, like we found out today, your brain starts to become better at it and more efficient every time you do it, right? Number 3, love yourself, right? And give yourself compassion first. Like I said before, it is impossible for you to give something to other people you don't have. So you first have to give it to yourself. And only when you can do that to yourself, you can give it to other people. Number 4, this is the last thing, is that you need to find a strong reason why you want to change. Because only that strong reason is what's going to keep you committed, and it's not going to allow you to give up no matter what, no matter how tough situation gets. And I'm not talking out of my butt. I'm telling you this from experience. I lived it. There were many times that I wanted to tap out, right? And because of life experiences, because of things I was going through, because of therapy, because of healing, and all I can think about is that I cannot give up. I cannot screw this up because I want to be better for my kids. So you got to find that reason. And when you want to tap out, think about that. And that's going to be your fuel to keep you pushing. And that, I'm telling you right now that I'm in a much better place and I'm healed. That's what's going to make you stronger. Trust me. And never give up. Giving up is never an option. You have to drill that. You have to freaking tattoo that in your freaking brain. Giving up is never an option, right? Anyway, that's it for today before I get all riled up. And I hope this was beneficial to you guys. I hope that you can resonate with this. And if you have some time, make sure that you can like this video, that you can comment on it, that you can talk about a couple of reasons why you get upset. Talk about, what are the things you're doing to deal with those things. We can get this conversation going. And if you like this content, please make sure to share with other people and subscribe to my channel. All right, guys, take care and have a good weekend.